So we're going to go to Hamlet, Act 2, Scene 2. The players have just left. They are indeed going to play a show that night for Hamlet and the king, the queen, Gertrude. Hamlet says, "Now I am alone." We'll read a little bit of that very long monologue following that line. "Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I! Is it not monstrous that this player here, but in a fiction, in a dream of passion, could force his soul so to his whole conceit, that from her working all his visage waned, tears in his eyes, distraction in his aspect, a broken voice, and his whole function suiting, with forms to his conceit, and all for nothing, for Hecuba. What's Hecuba to him, or he to Hecuba, that he should weep for her? What would he do, had he the motive and cue for passion that I have? He would drown the stage with tears, and cleave the general ear with horrid speech, make mad the guilty, and appall the free, confound the ignorant, and amaze indeed the very faculty of eyes and ears. Yet I, a dull and muddy-mettled rascal, peak, like John a dreams, unpregnant of my cause, and can say nothing, no, not for a king, upon whose property and most dear life a damned defeat was made. Am I a coward?" Okay, so firstly, read. If you're having any trouble with the text, if the text just isn't quite working for you, read it aloud. Plays, if you're reading a play, as much as you can, try to read it aloud. If you're reading Shakespeare, even if it's his poetry, read it aloud, because words are not just black and white on a page, they're also music, they're also sound. I don't know whether you're aware, but our vowel sounds tend to come from our gut, which is also sort of where our feelings reside. You have a gut feeling about jumping off a cliff. Your gut is like, whoa, we're not doing that. You see the person that you have a crush on and your gut's like, oh, aren't they cute? Consonants reside up here in our mouth. We use our tongue, our teeth, our lips to create consonants. Some consonants are really light and delicate, like T's. D's are a little bit less so, but T's and D's, K's, and but B's are very, very lit. They're kind of a little bit broader. But consonants, they're up here where our brain is, and they give definition to words. If we were to just read the first line all in vowels, it would sound something like and that's not even quite correct. But it's the consonants that allow us to understand, and it really relies on our brain, whereas the vowels are so much more about feeling. So when you read a text aloud, listen for the consonants. Listen for the lines that are just really consonant heavy. And then listen for the lines that are just all about deep vowel sounds. Hamlet is a perfect example of a character who's struggling with his head and his feelings. He knows in his gut that something's not right, that his mother shouldn't have married his uncle quite that quick. He's just seen the ghost of his father. He's grieving. He's, so much feeling. But also his head is struggling because he knows the ghost could be a demon. It's not everything is as it seems. So, let's see. There's times when the two really mix together, when he's actually really expressing what he's feeling. And the sound tells you that often as much as the words do. So a little bit in the middle of the bit that we read, confound the ignorant and amaze indeed the very faculty of eyes and ears. Yet I, a dull and muddy-mettled rascal, peak like John a dreams, unpregnant of my cause. I would say that that's a time when he's getting the two to mix. That's great for an actor or a reader to notice. And a related idea is that a character or a writer will tell you everything you need to know about them by what they say, about what they don't say, about their favorite words, about the kind of allusions that they use. A character will tell you everything you need to know. It's very clear in this bit that, Hamlet, bless him, is really struggling. He's using really violent language. Let's just look at, again, that same bit. He would drown the stage with tears and cleave the general ear with horrid speech, make mad the guilty and appall the free, confound the ignorant and amaze indeed the very faculty of eyes and ears. Yet I, a dull and muddy-mettled rascal, peak, like John a Dreams, unpregnant of my cause. Unpregnant. It takes me a minute to really wrap my mind around that word. But if you think about it, unpregnant, it's like he's lost his cause. He's lost the child. And that language, the type of words he's choosing, tells you, whoa, crazy town up here. Alright, look for ideas. In actor speak, we talk about an idea being a beat. It is not about the end of a sentence, which, is kind of the sentences together make up the idea. They paint the picture. What an actor looks for is where the beat changes, where the character switches from idea A to idea B. And each idea is its own journey, because the character doesn't know what they're saying when they start out. And it's interesting, even though authors, even though they, of course go back and edit again and again, when you are reading, it shouldn't necessarily feel like they have it all figured out at the beginning, right? Sometimes they do. Your essays are very obviously planned, and that's the way essays should be. But there are times when a writer will make it very clear that, I don't know what it was like to, The Lost Childhood by Graham Greene. He's kind of figuring it out as he goes. And even though he goes back and rewrites stuff, we still journey with him through those ideas. And actors look for that. They look for where the ideas shift and change. Yeah. And that's not necessarily dependent on question marks and periods and exclamation points. If we look here, and this is really great because we're working with verse, if we look here, there's not that many lines that end with an exclamation point, period, or a question mark. Most of the time, they're ending in the middle. Let's see here. With forms to his conceit and all for nothing. For Hecuba, boom. What's Hecuba to him, or he to Hecuba, that he should weep for her? Do you see what's happening? Because we're having a grammatical stop in the middle of a line, and this is poetry. It's like music. We can't pause in the middle of a line. It's not a pit stop. We have to make it to the end of the line to really complete the writer's thought. So even though Hamlet is reaching a grammatical stop, he's not reaching a stop in his head. And that's what you need to look for in all of your texts. Where does the idea end? Where is the shift from idea A to idea B? Kind of advanced thoughts here. Let's see if I can kind of say it a different way. That might help you. Okay, so everyone has a different sort of brain. Some people are more of a boom, 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 kind of like a firecracker brain, and so everything just comes really, really quickly for them. And that doesn't mean that they reach the conclusion any quicker. It's just that their thoughts are very, very quick and sparky. And then some people are more like a tortoise brain. They still get to the conclusion. It's just that for them, it's much more about one foot in front of the other. It's like the Christmas movie where you put one foot in front of the other, and soon you'll be walking across the floor. It's very much like that. They don't have a firecracker brain. They have a one foot in front of the other brain. And so for Hamlet in this moment, he's going through a firecracker moment. And we can tell that because we have to make it to the end of the line. Even though he's, kind of stopping a sentence in the middle, we have to keep going with him until we reach a full stop at the end of the line, which happens pretty much where I ended reading. Am I a coward? Am I a coward? These questions in the middle of monologues, remember that this actor is not alone on stage. He has people 3 feet away from him, and if he doesn't keep them with him, they'll throw a tomato in his face. monologues in Shakespeare are never just about the actor and himself. The actor is never just talking to himself. The character is never just talking to himself. He's either turning to the audience and saying, "Am I a coward?" or turning to God and saying, "Am I a coward? Someone help me, please. I'm on the stage by myself. I don't have any help." It's either you or God. So look for that, especially in Shakespeare. The monologues are always actively trying to figure something out, and they need help from either you or you. Alright, so read aloud to hear the sound of the music. Look for the end of ideas. Look for the type of brain this person has. Verbs. Verbs are so important to an actor because acting is never just sitting there on stage. It's always doing. It's always trying to get to the next thing for the character and thus for the actor. So let's see here. So verbs are active, right? And where the verb is in a verse line can tell you so much about the character. If it's at the beginning, you know, it's like, okay, so a verb is like a punch, right? And we have our verse line here, and we either have the punch at the beginning of the line, punch, and then stroke, you know, to the end of the line, and that tends to be a really strong character or a really strong feeling, a really strong moment. Or we have, you know, kind of stroke and then punch near the end. Very different effects, but in strong moments, generally the verb is at the beginning. In weaker moments, they're generally near the end. Because, you know, near the end of the line, we finally get to be doing something. So let's look for any lines in this wee bit of Shakespeare that start with a verb. Let's see. Oh, is, but, could force. Could, so, you know, force is pretty close to the beginning of the line. That, tears, with, for, what, that, had he the motive. Had he the motive. Had is, you know, a verb. That, and make. There we go. Strong moment. Make mad the guilty. Confound the ignorant. The, like, and upon. Upon, nope. Damn defeat. So we have a really strong moment kind of midway through this section. Oh, actually, it's a little bit before. And cleave the general ear. Make mad the guilty. Confound the ignorant. Where that verb is in the line tells you about that moment. The type of verbs here are very violent. You know, cleave, mad, make mad, confound, amaze. Oh my goodness, poor Hamlet. You know, there's definitely a lot going on up in there. Right, so how can you use this with the rest of your texts? Well, I mean, again, I think it comes back to we can be Sherlock Holmes and figure everything out that we need to know just based on what is shared with us and what isn't shared with us, the type of allusions the author gives us, just all of these clues just add up into you being Sherlock Holmes and saying, the game's afoot, I know who the murderer is, I know who this character is, I know what he wants, and I know how he's doing it, what literary devices. I mean, what we're doing really is detective work. It is finding what clues to look for. And that's also the job of an actor.